London is an outspoken leader even before he entered politics, but he's a leader with integrity and he's community spirited and he believes in the liberation of the people, and that is factual outside of the realm of politics. He has entered politics and he will carry those same characteristics, traits, and features in his sojourn to become president of Guyana. Let us welcome Nigel London to the program. Nigel London, welcome, leader of the People's Movement. I want to give you a special welcome to the program. We know that elections are around the corner. And your party, the People's Movement, will be contesting that election. But you will tell us a bit about your party for the sake of my viewers overseas and so on. Briefly, a bit about your party. I know that you have joined with Amanza's Forward Guyana movement, and that you are across the country. You're very busy. I'm surprised that you even had time to come on this program because I know that you are very, very, very busy. But talk to us about your party before we go into talking about the cost of living and other stuff. Welcome again.
Thank you very much, Norman, and to your viewers. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm actually on the ground, but um, as always, I'm humbled by your invitation. And it should be clarified that I am a member of course, Forward Ghana Movement, and it's a coalition of three parties: the People's Movement, Forward Ghana, and VPAC, which is headed by Doreen Bess. And together we have formed the Forward Ghana Movement. I'm the prime ministerial candidate of the same, and Amanza Walton Desir happens to be our presidential candidate. So, come September 1, people should be looking for the wheel if they are seeking to have a group that is accountable, that is credible, that's honest, and that is not stained with corruption. I think in the light of the fact that you would have invited me here for this interview, we would not have known that there'd be so much for us to talk about, or so much more, I should say, in reference to how corrupt our society has become. But nonetheless, I say thank you. Forward Ghana Movement is certainly a new party. I don't consider us to be a small party, but we're new. We're new in the context that we just entered into officially this electoral process. And as a result, we are on the ground. We are working not with corruption, money gained from corruption or corrupt people. We're working as honestly as we can to ensure that our activity in this process is not stained with blood on our hands or any corrupt practice whatsoever.
Very, very good opening remarks there, Nigel London. And I'm glad you've clarified for the sake of the viewers that you are the prime ministerial candidate of the Forward Guyana movement, and Manzo Walton Desir is the presidential candidate, and your party has coalesced with Amanza's party and Darwin Bess's party. And so I'm glad my viewers are getting an understanding of that. So you are not in the race as presidential candidate for your party. You are now you are part of a coalition. And so viewers, I want you to look for the wheel, and you put your X, so be it, there if you desire for good leadership. I want to, because we have touched on corruption. I want us to talk about corruption in Guyana. I want us to really talk about corruption because so many people have tuned in already. I know Apostle, you pull a very large audience every time you come on this program. So many people have
I'm
tuned
humbled.
in. And I want to let us talk about corruption before we talk about the cost of living. Or should we allow more people to tune in and let us talk about the cost of living before so more people can have the opportunity to hear about the corruption? What would you like to do? To talk about the cost of living first?
Well, you're the host, but nonetheless, I can say that the cost of living is
Yes.
correct, connected to corruption. They're inseparable. The reason why, so it's whether the chicken comes before the egg, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter to me.
it doesn't matter.
Nonetheless, the product of a high cost of living, and we'll just, of course, have it just flow naturally. But the product of the cost of living being so high in this country is because of a very corrupt system that we have. Guyana is listed, as you would know, Norman, as we're described as a socialist nation. That's our constitution actually states that. And the unfortunate reality is that Guyanese don't even know what the constitution states regarding our nation. We are known to be a socialist nation. That's in the constitution. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana is a socialist nation. Nonetheless, the PPP has made it a capitalist nation where those with money and the businesses run our country. Once that happens, it is almost inevitable that you would have these issues you get, like cost of living, because they know that if they decide to control, regulate pricing, it affects only one set of people, which is their friends. But the effect it would have on the population would be healthy. They don't want that. The PVP has decided that their friends, their cronies, their lackeys, their puppets, they're the ones who must enjoy the best lives. And as a result of that, we have these issues that we face. They don't care about the persons who cannot afford 3 meals per day or a healthy meal, one healthy diet, one healthy meal, because it doesn't bother them. So they can boast about having a pair of shades that cost $150,000 more than somebody's salary. They can boast about those things. They can boast about wearing red bottom shoes that may cost $3,000. They can boast about a Gucci bag or something like that costs $4,000 or $5,000. They don't mind because in their circle they can afford then to walk into Massey and purchase one lobster tail for $7,000 or $10,000 Ghana. They don't have an issue with those things. And as a result of that, the cost of living in our country will always skyrocket because in a capitalist nation, capital governs, not the people govern. Money is what's running Ghana right now. And so I think we've initially gone into the discussion of cost of living. It is painful to see, Norman, that people, and I don't like doing this, but I say for the sake of discussion. There are times when I go shopping and I would see some people who will look as if they're okay. But when they get to the cashier, and I notice how they have to be selective about what they want to buy. There are times because of my spiritual nature and who I am, I would say to a mother or a father, it's okay. You take it. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for your groceries. Not because I'm a wealthy person or because I'm rich. It's because I understand how people suffer in this life. And my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my parents have taught me that you must be kind to people because you'll never know when you or your children or someone in your bloodline would need that assistance. So I would sometimes have to
Wow.
subsidize person's meal because I can see the pain in the mother's eye or father when his child asks for a snack or something and they can't get it. No, you can't get it because they can't afford it. Some people may have to choose between the beef or the chicken. I'll say, no, you take it, get it, I'll pay for it. Again, not because I'm a rich person, but because I can know that some point in time I may or my child may need that kind of help. You never know.
Apostle Nigel London here, and your kindness is known. Your kindness is known, and I'm glad you said that. Let's just go to this brief clip.
All right. One raising something with you. You raising fund?
Yes.
That's
Have a
perfect,
donation
man. Like
box
that.
right there.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
We raising the fund for
Trying to buy some instruments.
some instrument.
Buy instruments, okay.
That's good. So some youth will be training back. Solid, man. I like that. That's good. That's good. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Y'all do well.
That's you there, charity, of course. Helping people as you move about, on your campaign trail. And we know that you are a spiritual person, and kindness is an aspect of spirituality that it cannot be compromised. You're on the campaign trail. You are a Lindener. How is the coalition, your coalition, Amanzi's coalition, faring on the ground at Linden and across the country?
Thank you for the question, Norman. And that clip of my being on the drum, it was in Port Morant. And we've traveled and are traveling extensively. And what I've noticed is that there's a difference in reference to the culture. And it's a healthy, it's an encouraging sign where people are saying that they want a change. They need something different. And in many instances, they would say to me that, oh, I know you from social media, one would say, or so on. And they said that they've seen the representation, which is a very important term. Persons are now realizing that they need representation, not people to rule and dominate them. They want people to represent them. And that is what they see in Ford Ghana movement. Additionally, when they see the policies, when someone can see that there's a group who said that you don't have to pay for house lot, a teacher and someone who may be a janitor or something can relate to that and see that there is at least one group who can show a realistic future, that Guyanese should not have to pay for house lots, and they don't have to do it. But I have a daughter who paid $2 million. My nephew paid $2 million for house lot in Linden, Norman. That is unheard of under this criminal clan. Susan Rodriguez came in and Kroll, and they justified in their head paying for an undeveloped plot of land 2 million Ghana dollars. That's the kind of people we have. And we think to them, you don't have to pay 1 cent. The house that is free. So Guyanese are reaching to us, and most importantly, they're seeing in us, and I'm thankful to Yahweh for this. They're seeing in me, in Amanzindao and others, that we are not stained by corruption. This is very important. It's important to know that. I was not a friend of any corrupt group. I was never bosom buddy with Irfan Ali or anybody. I never had to give somebody from somewhere a little bribe to get a license for anything. I have never done it. And because of that, I can speak as loudly as I can, as I would today, about the corrupt systems we have. There's no China in Fort Ghana movement. I never had a burden to deal with. I've never had a cutthroat, slice your neck, stab in your back kind of politics to deal with. That is not who I am. It's not what you represent. And that is why I can safely say that I'm happy to be in the company of leaders of the quality of Amanza Walton Desir, Darwin Best, who suffered immensely at the hand of a very corrupt clan called the PPP. So people are receiving us warmly. In Linden, of course, I'm a Lindener. Amanza spent most of her life here. So she's a Lindener, of course. And what we found is that Lindeners are now able to recognize who stood for them. So we don't have to bust anybody by the droves into Linden, because Lindeners know what I have done for years. And it's important for us to understand that the people who are alert to understanding that you need folk who represent you. That's how Guyana is led by representation, not by crowds. Guyana is led by representation. So if you know somebody's been representing you for years, I am amazed to see the men who would go on a stage in Linden to speak at a rally and never once stood against any injustice in this community. Who couldn't be found when persons were being treated in an ill manner? Who couldn't be found when Charles Ramson and those hijacked sports club and in our faces took away stuff? They couldn't be found, but now they can walk up on a stage at a rally to say that they're representing me, and they're not representing anybody. What you have is an ambition, and Norman always invites me, and I'm in a bad mood.
No, but you have
Or
to
we ask
speak
me
up.
questions
You have to speak
that
up. The
trigger by
world is
saying this.
watching. The
It,
world is watching.
thank you. It is ridiculous. How do I? For me, Norman, I would not have gone on those stages. For me, I would not have gone on a stage, especially Linden, when I know how much I would, if I were in their position, when I would have seen how much I've neglected my people. There was a man who was saying all the time, "Y'all come out," which is me. Y'all come and stand for your people. You elected, you selected, come and stand. Somebody's been calling for y'all, showing you the schools and all that. You couldn't be found. But when the stage is there, people are busting to the town. You show up on the stage and say that you're for Linden. You're not for Linden. When one man in Gaspar, I call his name, you know me, I don't play with that.
Go ahead.
When one man at town clerk could bully 12 PNC or APNU councillors, what are y'all telling me? When one man, in reference to Dwight John, a colossal failure, could be the regional executive officer, and he could control, dominate, bully an APNU led APNU AFC council. And I told them, block the door, lock him out. Let's stand against this fellow. Nobody want to do it. But now it's we love Linden. Who really loves Linden? And they know this is not personal, it's a fact. When I come to speak, I speak to you all the truth. That's why you can handle me. Let's tell the truth. Who was standing for Linden for all of this time? When a man's Walton Nazir had to leave Georgetown to come to Linden, when police were shooting people at the bridge as though they were criminals, kill Key and Fortuné. Where were those who should have been standing for us in Linden? But now when there's a rally. So Londoners have become quite enlightened, quite aware, and quite understanding of the fact that this is about representation. That's what these elections are about right here. Whose hands are cleaned and who would have stood to represent us when it mattered the most. And they can make that decision quite easily, I'm sure. You're muted, Norman. I can't hear
I'm sorry about that. I muted the mic.
you.
I want to testify more as a political activist here than as the host of this program. Because as the host of this program, I have to be somewhat unbiased. But as an activist, I can
Yeah.
break loose. Let me say this to you. I know for a fact that hundreds of thousands of Guyanese at home and abroad are aware of your activism even before you entered politics. Even before you entered politics. I recall when a PPP administrator at the Mackenzie Hospital was abusing nurses. I recall what happened at the bridge on several occasions. I recall when those two young men were killed. You were out there. You were fighting. You were in communities doing work. You went into the Mackenzie Sports Club when no one else wanted to come to highlight certain things. You went there and called out Ramson, called out Kashif and Shanghai, called out BL, called out everybody. You stood up. You worked, and I want to say this. I had the former Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan, on my program yesterday. And he said that he hopes that if a new political party wins, and these are my words, but it's based on what he said, that there must be that latitude to allow others outside of that political party that are known for their contributions, that there must be a broad base. You bring them in and let them work. I couldn't put it into his words, but he was saying that, let us say, the PNC wins. A Nigel London, a Darwin Bess, and a Manzo Walton must be brought in. If the Forward Guyana movement wins, same thing. That you have to fight corruption and to change Guyana, you have to know not those who support you and you align with them as a party or whatever. You have to look for the people who are tested, tried, and proven, and people who can really independently, along with their association with political parties, that can actually make that indentation for change. And you are outstanding in that area. So your work as an activist before you enter, in fact, you were asked to enter politics because of
Right.
your fight for the people, that selfless fight. And I would suspect that that's why your political party was named the People's Movement. And so your work, and I hope Guyanese, as so many people have tuned in, I hope Guyanese understand that it is not just about labels anymore. You have to examine the work, the courage, the sacrifices of persons, whether you think they're from a smaller party or not, that you have to examine that and you have to support. Apostle, corruption is endemic in Guyana. I couldn't find, for the want of a better word, you're more intellectual than I am. But corruption in Guyana is out of control under this PPP regime. I want, before you talk about corruption, because I want you to talk about PPP's corruption, and I want you to talk about what is happening in Guyana, even though we are approaching an elections. And I want our viewers to have a brief look at this before you come in, and you have the latitude to speak for 20 minutes if you want to, because you have to speak to the people today, Apostle. This program is giving
Thank
you
you.
that latitude, all right? And you have to speak
I'm
out.
grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, don't come out no way.
Ever get on this index. And they have more institutional corruption, in my view.
What about within your government? Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
we've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that in fact it's the only way to get business done.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that. You can just sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Zhurong?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't.
Do you use middlemen like Sue in order to take money on your behalf so that you can keep your hands clean?
No. The answer is no.
We met with a manager from a Chinese state-run corporation who confirmed that they use individuals like Sue in order to get these deals done. And
Apostle Nigel London here, Nigel Eliakim here on the program. We're seeing it clearly. We're seeing it clearly. I want you to talk to us about. I understand that there has been revelations after revelations just recently, like the rich in Guyana,
Yes.
who are primarily
Yes.
Indo-Guyanese and mostly associated with the PPP, are flexing their financial muscles. It has become a scandal now. I heard Melly Mel has been exposing people, and the PPP is exposed. Talk to us about corruption in Guyana.
Norman, I'm grateful that you're giving the opportunity to do so, because even before that interview, since 2020, I've been saying the early part of 2020 that at the helm, at the top, the upper tier of our society, Guyana is most corrupt. That we led by corrupt people. Across the board, the upper strata of our society are very, very corrupt individuals. And so when the Vice News, that journalist would have done, Isabella would have done such an excellent work, Bara Jagdio, instead of being investigated, finally decided it's better to attack Isabella Young. And so she's a wannabe journalist. She has no credibility. She's not even a journalist indeed. And it showed a particular pattern where when the PVP is exposed for corruption, instead of investigating it, they resort to attacking the one who revealed it and who's exposed it. We saw they were going after Melissa Atwell, after Melly Mel. They were going after so many people. The moment you say anything about them or about their corrupt practices, they prepare to attack and be aggressive towards the individual, which is a sign. I normally I said to pre-match one time, I'm not living in North Korea, so don't bring that to me. As though you have to praise the ruler regardless of his behavior. And so Bara Jagdio in that interview, a child can see, anyone can observe his demeanor and know that he's lying. I know he was cornered. I know he did not expect to hear the name Su Zhurong being called in reference to a deal that's being made or deals are being made. And that is what we have to deal with in this country, where people are vested with power, and because they're vested with this power, they utilize it to their own self-interest. I have asked the Anis to tell me, how often have you realized that in this country, especially on the PPP, someone would have entered like Susan Rodriguez, for example, driving and it's just not a Toyota car, but just saying a normal Toyota vehicle. And then suddenly they become, according to the allegations, excessively wealthy. We've seen it with Zulfikar Mustafa. I have seen the kind of house these people are building. How could they and their children acquire so much wealth in such a short period of time? And they cannot account for it. But here's the disastrous response from Jagdio Norman. He said that he doesn't mind. He has no issue with ministers who enter the PPP, enter in the House of Assembly and Cabinet, and they become wealthy during that tenure. Now, when somebody tells you that, and he's not VP for me, he's Bara Jagdio. He's not the VP. When someone tells you that, the leader of the People's Progressive Party says that he has no issue with ministers or people who would enter cabinet, enter ministries, and become wealthy. Now, if you measure their salary and you put it beside what they earn, it's obvious that they cannot live at that standard without having money from somewhere else. But when a leader encourages corruption, when a leader encourages you to function the way they do, it breeds what is breeding now, which is a very corrupt society. But what I realize is that Bara Jagdio is very loyal to people, based on what I've observed, and based on the accusation from Vice News exposed certain things. and he's loyal to those people. So when the Chinese came here, for example, and they had the quarry, they've not selling Chinese food just anymore. Quarries, supermarkets, all kinds of stuff started popping up around us, and Guyanese are being shut out of having access to and the benefits from our resources as we should. Then the discovery was made when we had a protest in Berlin with the truckers. When Nigel came and tried to be disrespectful, it was discovered that the licenses are given to Guyanese, who then have Chinese running the operation. What are we telling people there for? What is happening in our country where a Guyanese goes for a quarry license, for example, he doesn't run the operation, but his name is there, and then a Chinese goes and is running the operation. This speaks to exactly what is happening in our society in reference to corrupt practices. And the PEP have mastered corruption. When we examine the police force, Norman, when we examine the police force, for the first time in our history, I'm hearing that a policeman of high rank, maybe assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner, has been sanctioned for cocaine smuggling. There's a mafia we have in this country involving, including the police force. So it tells me that the tentacles of corruption from the PP are so far reaching that it's in just about every facet of our society. And I brought my red shirt to show guys, when you see this color, I was going to wear it today. When you see this color on anybody, and my PPC, it is the color of corruption. And later on, I put on my shirt and show guys, when you see me in this shirt, I'm showing you in protest what corruption looks like. This here. Every person that I spoke to from the PvP have said to me that when you join the PvP, man, you get stuff, you get things, we got to eat, that's all they could talk about, what they get, not what they stand for in reference to anything that's proper and right. And when I heard the allegation from the recent interview with Travis Chase and this fellow Junior Bach, there must be a very intense, thorough investigation into this matter. When Irfan Ali's mother could be mentioned as an alleged middle person, so she's a Sufa Ali, where are we going as a country?
What
When
are you?
Claudette Singh,
For the sake of the viewers, what are you talking about? Give us an insight into
there's an,
what you.
I shall, there's an interview that was released by Travis Chase interviewing a fellow named Junior Bach, a former a gold dealer as a matter of fact. And
Yes.
this person, Junior Bach, has alleged that Irfan Ali's mother collects money on Irfan's behalf or collected from him.
What?
So whatever payment has from some smuggled gold, that's what the man alleged. I'm saying what is alleged. How could the president's mother be involved? Allegedly. And there's no statement? This is crazy. The man said he had to ask, and as if according to what he's saying, she's a tough lady because she's demanding money, the $33 million, whatever it is, for her son. She wants to get the money for her son that's supposed to pass through Val's or son or whatever the person's name is, hand, get to his mother and then get to Ali. We have got a very, very serious issue on our hand here because those allegations are not to be played with, and it was also, there's an affidavit, a sworn affidavit as far as I'm aware by this gentleman. He didn't just make allegations. He swore that what he's saying is the truth. And should he die, should he be murdered as far as I'm concerned, release it. But he didn't die, but he said at the right time when he gives permission shall be released. Further to that, Claudette Singh, the man said, Claudette Singh, the chairman of GCOM, and we're calling on you today, because I'm not done with y'all, the chairman of GCOM, the fellow said that during the election, she was put in a bulletproof vehicle owned by him and driven by Prem Narayan, who's now the head of I think, crime or one of those places. Look at what we live in Guyana, where Claudette Singh, while she's serving an election process with the man is out in 2020, was being protected by a gang of alleged criminals. There's not a police force. How can somebody who has said that he's involved in gold smuggling, a PVV supporter, be made to protect the chairman of GCOM? That is what raises suspicion because I believe, and we have a right to believe, that Claudette's decision now has to be based on gratitude or fear. Why was Claudette saying? And GCOM needs to make a statement and defend and speak to this. The international community must be called in to speak to this. And we get into that in a minute. But we are observing that day after day there are more and more allegations being raised, and this one is the most significant for me, because if the chairperson of GCOM is being taken around, would have been taken around in an armored vehicle owned by somebody who's confessed to gold smuggling, Tana Singh should resign now or she should be in jail. There must be an investigation. We don't trust them 1 second more than this, because this is the epitome, the zenith of corruption. When your election official, the election official in Clarence Singh was being protected by a special security service, so what happened to the Guyana Police Force? And now you have somebody from Guyana Police Force driving the vehicle that's owned by a person who smuggles gold. What are we doing with Norman?
This is revelation to me. This is revelation to me. I didn't realize that the thing has gone out of hand. And Americans, like, they're aware and turning a blind eye to GCOM and to the PPP primarily. I don't understand what is really happening. The president, did you say you are the prime ministerial candidate of a political party, of a coalition, sorry, that is contesting September 4th elections? You are the prime
Yes,
ministerial candidate, right? You are saying to this nation that the president's mother is collecting illegal money on his
it's
behalf.
an allegation made, accompanied by a sworn affidavit, as far as I'm aware. So this I'm saying she did. I'm saying what the allegation is, and it is so serious that it requires an immediate response, not from Ali going live on some broadcast and talk. He should remove himself and his mother and others. There should be an investigation from a body that is independent and credible. Because this person has sworn, according to what is the report, he swore by affidavit that what he's saying is the truth. That Irfan Ali's mother, the one of the accusations he made, was the person to whom he had to give the money, and then, of course, for her son. So she was the recipient, the conduit through which the money would have passed. He mentioned other names. My focus and our attention in For Ghana movement would have been on why would the president's mother be named in such a damning allegation. This has never happened in our country's history. Never. And this requires the outrage of all Guyanese. That's what Norton will do now. Because yet again, I hope he doesn't have a press conference and strategize. When the president's mother could be accused of something like this, let's call for there to be an immediate special prosecutor appointed, a commissioner of inquiry appointed. Pause the election if you have to pause it. Because this goes beyond who wins and who loses. She has to clear her name in a court of law. And that would not be done by a corrupt system, a corrupt police force, and corrupt politicians. You're muted again now. You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. We know that it will not be investigated. Guyana has become a lawless country under the People's Progressive Party. And I'm glad you're speaking out here today, and I'm glad you're being passionate about the position, because people must know. The Guyanese people at home and abroad, they must know from our leaders what is going on. And so I will let you continue on the issue of corruption. I don't want to cut you.
Thank you. Yes, number. Because and I want to reiterate, when the chairperson of GCOM, not a, if a GCOM employee is seen in a For Ghana movement shirt at a rally, they can be fired. They tell you that. You cannot be supporting any political party. Now, how could the chairperson of GCOM be accused, and she has to say that, no, I dare Claudia Singh to say that she never traveled in any armored vehicle during the election of 2020 when they were guarding the ballot boxes and stuff. She was not driven or chauffeured in an armored vehicle owned by this person who is now confessing to be involved in gold smuggling from Venezuela, of all places. Our art rival, look at where they're smuggling gold to and from. And Claudia Singh is was sitting in the vehicle, according to the man, being protected by him and by special security operatives in this country. Do we have a parallel police force in this country? Do we have a militia being organized in this country. Guyana, I am calling on all of you to recognize, even in the diaspora, that we have a crisis on our hand that goes beyond mere rigging. This is where our lives and our well-being is threatened. When we have China Railway Corporation, and I spoke about this for years, Norman, as well. I highlighted this since the year before last. I said, how do you have bridges being built, roads being built by a company that's sanctioned? Well, I'm happy Travis Chase came and said this, so maybe he's more credible than I am, but I said long ago that we have a problem. Mohammed is sanctioned, but we could be doing business with China Railway Corporation, and then you just put the Caribbean at the end. Our country is in crisis. May Thomas was sanctioned with the Mohammeds. May Thomas. And and she was sent on admin leave and still receiving her money. So there's a huge ring of corruption, and there seems to be factions of corruption in the PVP. So Bart has his set, and Irfan has his set. And of course, normally I make people uncomfortable sometimes, but I say nonetheless. I don't know if it's a religious faction they have with the Hindus and the Muslims are separated now, because when you look at certain names, it seems to be there's a Hindu set and a Muslim set, and both sides are seeing who will benefit more. And it's not to disparage somebody's religion, I'm just saying to you based on what I observe. Because when one set, you have, for example, Muhammad, Azuddin is Muslim, Jagdi is Hindu, Irfan is Muslim. Which is
Fake,
why
fake
Azuddin
Hindu,
spoke
fake
to say that,
Hindu, fake Hindu.
well, exactly, professed,
Professed,
right?
yeah.
But when someone can stand before the court, outside the court, and say that in Islam, to betray your brother, I didn't say it,
Yes, yes.
you're worse than a dog, essentially. Then Azuddin called Irfan his brother in the faith. So before the brothers fell out, what was happening in Guyana? We have to ask ourselves these very tough questions at this stage of this campaign. What are we electing? Who are we electing? It's good to expose them. It's good to reveal what they're doing. But under what circumstance were you made to do it? Nobody in this country, nobody in the diaspora, nobody in the world could point a finger at me, and I thank Yahweh for it. Or the man's who out in the zero or best, but I could talk for me because I'm on your program here. Not a soul. I dare anyone of y'all to show one receipt, one conversation where I was ever involved in anything corrupt in this country. You know why? Because my grandfather, Walter London, taught me this as a boy. He said, all you have in this life is your name. I'll never forget that. He said, all you have in this world is your name. If your name is stained in foolishness, you're done with. My grandfather taught me that. And he was no preacher, drinking his brandy on the rocks. He said, come, let me tell you something. All you have in this life is your name. And if your name is good, it can take you anywhere in the world. But if your name is bad, nobody will value you. And I've lived to see that. Because Bart can have all the money in the world, Irfan can have all the money in the world, but when your name is stained, people do not trust you. And they know political parties with stains in their name. When I can find out that even in APNE they were members of parliament, that's where they could transition so easily. And you all blame Norman now, because Norman asked me the question. They could transition from APNU over to PVP because they were corrupt before. Let's not lose focus. If anybody could walk into a corrupt party and say, listen, I'm home, what does that tell you? We know they're corrupt. They were saying the PVP was corrupt. For years they said, you're corrupt. And then you cross the floor and say, well, I'm at home. Well, what were you when you're on the other side? There's those from Linden and other places who were
Well,
receiving
listen,
contracts and
listen,
can't tell me I'm
listen,
wrong.
listen, listen. We ain't throwing shades. Are you talking about Jarman Figuera? We got to
I'm
speak
talking
out
about all of them.
today. We have
No,
to
no, no, not
speak out
just
today.
Figuera. I talk about the whole cabal because I asked Figuera before to come and prove. I wanted to swear by affidavit that he never received through a relative a contract to build a road. And then I bring the person who said that it was done. I don't play games
So
with
he
this.
got a contract
But
through
beyond him,
a relative.
I'm saying I want him to swear, Norman, hear me carefully. I want Jermaine and I to go to court and he must swear by affidavit, swear by oath that he'll tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And then whoever said that they were building roads for him will have to come and talk. That's what I'm saying. Additionally, I'm saying beyond him, way beyond him, way beyond him. I'm saying anybody who could stand on one side of the aisle and say, y'all are corrupt. Y'all are this. And they accuse the PVP of corruption, rightfully so. And then go over to the PVP. What does that tell me? I'm not a stupid person. I'm an informed individual. I'm intelligent. I like to think that I am. So if I know that Norman says Nigel is corrupt, y'all are corrupt, this my family is corrupt, then Norman comes to my family and says, I'm home. What are you? You home in corruption then. So I have a right to deduce and to conclude that Figueroa is at home because he was on the other side where they were saying that the PP is corrupt and we going over there. I don't know who in their right mind would go to support a party that they have for years said is corrupt. More so, Figueroa served as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. So he should be better from anybody else as to skullduggery and whatever happened. And he goes over there to say, I'm home. This is where I'm loved. This is where I feel comfortable. Why? But I'm not speaking to him because Figueroa is insignificant in my eyes. I'm speaking to those as a general practice where persons could enter into the People's Pathetic Party and call it home. And now these allegations have been mounted. Let's not forget that the corruption has gotten so dangerous that the life of Adriana Young was snuffed out at the hand of who one did propaganda said he agreed that she was murdered because they know she was murdered. And to see what Irfan Ali did, that's also corruption, where the life of our children is not even valuable anymore. Once money is involved, once somebody has to be protected, they protect you at all costs, even if the life of a Guyanese is snuffed out and it's of no value to them. That's
You,
the kind of corruption we're looking at here.
you know, I said to a friend about an hour ago that the racism in Guyana is so bad that Adriana Young was murdered. I said to the friend who is a British Ghanaian, I said to a friend that the racism, the violence against black people by this PPP regime, using black policemen and so on, that they are killing black people, black young men. And Adriana Young is a baby girl. She was murdered, no justice, literally no justice for that child. How could somebody in their right mind walk over to the PPP and talk about progress under the PPP? How could they look at themselves in the mirror to say two bridges were built by the PPP, two hotels were built, that the PPP is collecting about 70% of the proceeds or the whatever you call it, the profits from those things. Everything that they've been involved in building, they've built it
Yeah,
upon Prime Ministerial candidate Nigel London. They have built it, you understand, because they're getting cutbacks. We all know that
correct.
it's
Yeah,
contracts is where people get cutbacks, governments get cutbacks. That is why Vice News questioned Bara Jagdeo. Now you have brought to this program, Prime Ministerial candidate Nigel London, that it is alleged that the president's mother, Irfan Ali's mother, is collecting money on his behalf. Illegal gold smuggling money, I
yeah,
understand. I was called. I someone called me today. I'm not following the thing too much, and they said that the guy Bash, he was making the allegations against Tamish Jagmohan, a very 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 wealthy businessman in Guyana. And that Tamish came out and said that, it's true, it's not, it's untrue, it's false, and he will take legal action against Bash. Some are saying in the political echelons in Guyana that Bash now has to fear for his life.
he has to.
The Indian hegemony controlling the wealth of Guyana and government. Talk to us briefly about that. Here is a situation. Everything that we're talking about here has nothing to do with black people's economic or social development. It seems to be a power struggle among Indo-Guyanese, in particular corrupt Indo-Guyanese, who are enabled by Barjak beyond the 20-something years or 20 years or how much it is, were enabled by Barjagdia's government, and the government he has controlled in a de facto manner. That people got extremely rich. But seems to be an Indian hegemonic power play where they have the wealth and they have the politicians backing them. We have, talking about the cost of living, teachers got to drive, black teachers got to drive taxi. They have to drive taxi at nights. to earn a living. So talk to us about this whole aspect of that Indian hegemonic political and financial economic domination.
Norman, uh, the PPP, Barjagli especially, I've said this as well for quite a few years, that it's created a class system in our society and a caste one as well. And the because I know you'll be accused of being racist when you say certain things, and they'll do to you. Being truthful to the PPP when you're African is racist. That's a fact, because that's all they can say. But I have met many Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters who said that they've recognized the racism and also the classism, which is even more dangerous than racism. But what Barjagli has sought to do is create a super society, an elitist culture among very few people, as the oligarchy, like what they have in Russia. And maybe he saw it when he went there and brought himself to study. That's all he learned. And you create a group of people in your society that control everything. They know everything, they control everything, and they're dominant. What has happened is that they're friends of Barrett's, associates of the PPP, who, because of their racist nature, their inherently racist nature, have decided that the best people to crush and to utilize are those who they believe would desire money. And so in their minds, it's easy to just go to somebody who is under, because they created economic genocide, they call it. And then others, of course, agreed and they used it. These people decided they're going to use money to destroy African descendants and to get you to do the most dirty things, the dirtiest of things. Money is always the bargaining chip. Now, what Bar Jagdio and Irfan and those have created in our society is a greed vacuum. And so because persons want it so badly, they do anything to get it. And when they're driving around, if somebody could show, hey, I have a Rolls Royce and then I have a Toyota Land Cruiser, once you do that, among the wise and they begin to talk, by nature they'll be competing now for who would get more and who can get what. And this is what is leading to this dangerous society we have, a mafia clan being organized. And what Guyanese must recognize is that the People's Pathetic Party, what's his name? Modi came here. So let me tell you what Modi said. Modi, not Nigel London, the Prime Minister of India, who's a Brahmin by the caste system. He's maybe a Chatri one. He's in top tier. He said that he came to Guyana and he observed our society. And the indentured servants who were the Indians are now at the top of all. That's what Modi said. All facets of life they control. Modi said that. They control the economy. They control politics. They control uh, public servants. They control everything. Now, if Modi could come and say that the indentured servants who came here as Indians now control everything in Guyana, what did I tell you about the African descendants? He said it. And that's why I was upset with Norton. Because you go smile up at somebody who came here and you didn't realize what he came to do. Modi has announced to us. Modi has announced to us. Modi who Jaggi had to take his two little girls to and say, okay, touch them because a God is touching my children. That same fella has announced to African descendants that you're now
The
second
Prime Minister
tier
of India.
in your country. The Prime Minister of India. You're now second class in your country. But forward Ghana movement is fortunate to have the likes of Joshua Bissoon, Mr. Ghani, and so many others who are saying, Rico and those guys, hey, listen, we see what it is, and we'll fight together. Not as African and Indian. We'll fight together to get rid of these wicked people. Because if you don't watch yourselves as Guyanese people, what you'll have is a caste system in your country. And it's already here, where
It's
the
already.
wealthy who happen to be of Indian descent. Because look at this, Norman. I watch when Irfan Ali walk to those roads that are crumbling and will always crumble. And I watch and I said to African descendants in this country, why is it when Irfan walks, so there the contractor is an Indian person, a person of Indian descent. The engineer who works for public service is a person of African descent. Have you all realized what is happening to you? I told them this long ago. Observe the owner of the contract, the head honcho is always of one descent. Then I was painfully told that an African descendant will never qualify for $1 billion contract in this country. I was told that straight up. They said you will never get it because you're not positioned to get it. Well, who created that situation? Power Jack Dio. They created a situation by we are disenfranchised. But a Guyana for all has to be a Guyana where all are willing to get up and fight. And that's what's happening now. All Guyanese are tired of them. So when we went to Upper Quarantine, I'm telling you, Indian people are saying we're tired of these people. They're wicked. It's not about African wicked or Indian wicked. The
The
PVP,
PPP
they're
people,
wicked.
A lot of Indo Guyanese are tired of them. Yes.
Yes. Because they have moved away from racism to classism, which includes racism to some extent. But if you don't have money, they kick you down the step. When I saw a place that no business was being done, and a man showed me the machinery, over $100 million worth of machinery. He said within 3 years. All this came here right here. Zulfikar needs to come to the, Zulfikar needs to pray, Norman, to every God he knows that for Ghana movement doesn't have
Who is
24
Zulfikar?
hours over
Because
this
you're
country.
speaking to a wide
The Minister of
audience. The
Agriculture,
Minister of
the
Agriculture.
Minister of Agriculture in this country, because in Babis, where the cattle is, that's why beef is so high. That's the cost of living is connected to corruption. In Upper Quarantine, where's a massive cattle ranch. Do you know what happened? These fellas went and blocked a canal, Norman, building some secret road path at the back, a dam at the back, two country in those places. And it caused the cattle grazing ground to be flooded. Calves and cows are dying in the field. So when beef reaches $300 a pound or $1,000 a pound from $500 a pound, it's because these people's behavior. They gone in the bush now excavated, so we don't see. But when they charge $50,000 an hour for excavation or $60,000 an hour, we don't see where the machines are working. And they have 10, 20 machines in the back they're working. But the farmers have called out to me. I went and saw it. Animals are dying. They're drowning. Cows are dying. So we can't get beef at the reduced rate because the grounds for them to graze is flooded. And the Minister of Agriculture can't talk. You know why? Right. He can't talk. He can't talk. But I dare him to talk now. Why is beef so high in the market in this country? Because the cattle grazing grounds are now flooded. They block the canals. So water can't leave the pasture. These people are hardened criminals. That's what they are.
But Charles Ramson, who is the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, also has failed miserably. Look at all the sports grounds that they broke up and said they're going to rebuild state of the art over the past 4 years, state of the art community centers and sports grounds and so on.
What's happening,
Nothing.
Linden?
Look at Linden. And German
10 years,
Figuera,
Norman.
German Figuera is saying that the PPP must be given another chance to govern. When you see all that's happening, and he wants to speak to young people at Linden. I heard that he was speaking to some people, but they were just piglets. They weren't like people really. I want to ask you this question: as the prime ministerial candidate of the coalition, your
Forward
coalition,
Ghana movement,
Forward
yes.
Guyana
Forward
movement.
Ghana
As the prime
movement.
minister, the prime minister of Guyana uttered 2 days ago, I think it was, that he's a military man. That's Mark Phillips. Mark Phillips, the prime minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, who has been the head of the Guyana Defense Force, had the highest rank in the Guyana Defense Force. He said that as a military man, he knows when the enemy is defeated. And the enemy has already been defeated. He's speaking about the general opposition, that the PPP will return to power and, no one else counts. What do you have to say as a prime ministerial candidate? What do you have to say to the current prime minister?
But it's time Mark Phillips does the honorable thing. He should enjoy his retirement, stay at home. He should hope he continues to receive a prime minister's pension because it is my view, and that's a personal view, that there should be an assessment of how officials performed when they were in office. And should they, by the people's view, in the people's eyes, would they have failed? If they would have failed to do what they should get no pension. They should get prison time. Because I cannot fathom why Mark Phillips would be subjected himself to such an unjust environment where Mark Phillips knows that a helicopter crash with two survivors. Two. I think five died, two survived. And Mark Phillips, being a military man, sat quietly while two men never said what happened to them. If this is the first time in all of my life where I know somebody survived something as deadly as a helicopter crash. Now, this should have been viral. There should have been movies made by them by now. But the two men have a gag order. They can't talk. Mark Phillips tell us as well, how could you serve as prime minister when a chopper went down and Ali claims the black box is damaged? When my friend who's an aeronautical engineer knows, he said, no way. It's made to withstand much more, much greater impact than that. But they can't give us the flight data record. They can't give us the voice recording, nothing. It tells me how corrupt they are. So Mark Phillips is an apostolate by. He can only say what Barrett tells him to say or allows him to say.
Say.
Remember what his role was? His role had been initially whenever African descendants say, listen, we bring this a franchise or the UN speaks to it, he's made to come and say, we love African descendants. We have African descendants in our party. That was his role, to defend racism. He has no class, no charisma, no deportment of a prime minister. And I'd like to speak to the likes of Hamilton Green, Tom Marine, I think would have been serving it shortly. But we have got people of class who served as prime ministers. And then it went downhill with Sam Hines. And from there, we can barely find a prime minister. Nagamoto came on the scene, of course, well spoken, does well, but was not very, very vociferous about certain matters. So one of the things that I pay attention to is the fact that the chief of all ministers is the prime minister. And when I was selected to function in this capacity, potentially, I understood that the burden is so great that the president doesn't sign the House Assembly, although I think that we should change our constitution for them to do so. But I would be, if I am elected, I'd be representing Amanza Walton Desir, the policy she stands for, and also seeking to restore some degree of decency, class, and decorum to that office called the Prime Minister. When Barrett Jagdeo is more dominant than Mark Phillips needs to sit at home in a rocking chair and hush your mouth. And that's putting it mildly. If you as a brigadier, foreign brigadier, could make Barrett a wimp, dominate you, sit down and hush. Don't talk to me. There's some people who can't talk to me, like Mark. You can't talk to me, period. You're a grown man. I'm not a bothered wimp. That you like a chicken, you could only come and issue some statement and then say the PNC is gone because they know that they did everything to destroy PNC or APNU. Since in their minds, the only two parties in Guyana, well, you have a rude awakening coming the 1st of September. Unless GCOM is able to, through their agents, that's why I said I'm so concerned about Claudette Singh. Unless GCOM can work some magic, the PP cannot even be a minority government in this country. GCOM has to work through the commissioners and this lady, an exceptional degree of magic to the PP to be a minority government because it's that low, they're that wicked, and they're that weakened. So they believe that it's either us or them, but you have a rude awakening coming for you because there's a courageous group.
But that was
Go
my
ahead,
next
sorry.
question to you. Sorry. Sorry, Vios. That's my next question. That was supposed to be my next question to you, JCOM, and its questionable role in the upcoming elections and the U.S. involvement in Guyana's internal politics. We saw the U.S. ambassador making some very questionable statements on behalf of the elections, upcoming elections, um, and GCOM, training, giving police special, the U.S. giving police special training, Guyana police special training for the upcoming elections. Is that a role the U.S. is allowed to perform in a sovereign nation prime ministerial candidate?
They're allowed to do it. The question is whether they should be doing it. And I believe that the US has a very, very, and it's understandable, a very deep interest in our politics because of the interest they have regarding the sweet oil, the sweet crude that we possess, and the excessive wealth we have. Also, the geographical position we have in relation to Venezuela. So Guyana is a country of great interest in the United States of America. And the Vienna Convention of Treaties is clear that no diplomat, none, is supposed to be involved in the internal affairs of a country. That's written. It's established. And if we are signatories to that treaty, then it must be upheld. What I would like to see is if it can be exchanged or reciprocated. If we're allowed, our ambassador Sam Hines is allowed to speak on US elections, and sure, you can speak here. But if he's not allowed to do so, then I don't expect there to be such a significant interest being demonstrated. But I can also suspect that the US knows how corrupt the PPP happened to be. And they know that people would not be inclined to accept the results of 2025, given what we know about GCOM's commissioners, three of them, and the chairperson who has always voted in favor of the PPP. Now, with this damning allegation made by this fellow Junior Baksh that Claudette Singh was protected by the PPP's agents and by him in his armored vehicle and his services, and a friend of the PPP, it tells me that the US would know that there would likely be a significant response that is not necessarily peaceful should the PPP claim they win. What they don't want is for their interests to be affected in this country. So they would like to, or would have sought to have some degree of assurance through their secure forces that, listen, keep the people in check. What I want the US ambassador to take note of is why someone's trying to call me. I'm fine again.
Yes, you're fine again. You're fine again, Prime Ministerial candidate. We can hear you
Thank
clearly.
you. My
For a
apologies.
moment, I thought the
So,
PPP was
thank you.
interfering because they're blocking out they're blocking out the areas now when people are out there and so on. Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm aware. I'm aware. So, what I would like the US ambassador to pay careful attention to is the fact that we know that your interest is what matters most. But why would there be policemen before any vote is cast, before the police even vote? Why would the US suggest to us that we need policemen to be specially trained to deal with electoral issues? Do you foresee a problem? I mean, you're not saying you're going to spend money on biometrics, or you're going to force Pakistan to have biometrics implemented, which should happen any
Or a clean voters list. Serial candidate Nigel London's end. The PPP will always be up to its machinations, and therefore we're not
Instead of me
surprised.
saying that certain people are quiet, I would love for the US ambassador to speak.
So Nigel has been bumped off. He has been bumped off. Let's go to what we talk about, the corruption in the PPP.
Ever get on this index. And they have more institutional corruption, in my view.
What about within your government? Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
We've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that, in fact, it's the only way to get business done.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that. You can just sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Zhurong?
So, so my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place. Yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes. Yes. He is a friend of ours.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't.
Do you use middlemen like Sue in order to take money on your behalf so that you can keep your hands clean?
No. The answer is no.
We met with a manager from a Chinese state-run corporation who confirmed that they use individuals like Sue in order to get these deals done, and that they pay them.
Yes, we've had some technical difficulties. I was saying to the viewers that I don't trust the PPP. It happened yesterday, where the program is being interrupted, and I'm very, very serious. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I
know.
The PNC had a rally at Linden 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and they blacked out the place 4 times while the rally was in progress. Yesterday, the former finance minister, Winston Jordan, was on this program, and he was speaking out the way you were speaking out. They blacked out the area, and he had to go take 15 minutes off to put his generator on. And whenever you and I are on this program, we have a smooth program. Now you're cutting off. The PPP is a wicked regime. People, you have to understand that. But however, go ahead, continue with your point. I'm going to put you alone
because
on
I
the
think it's
screen,
very, very important.
and I'm going to step away for a second. So speak to the people.
That's fine. Thank you. as I was saying, the United States of America, Madam Ambassador, it'd be important for us to hear from you regarding matters like when, we got GCOM would have taken the People's Pathetic Progressive Party and put them second in line on nomination day when they were obviously not present when others would have been in line since the week before. These are very critical matters to us because we would love to see an unbiased approach. We love to see, an approach to this situation whereby we can hear loudly that which we should hear from anyone who is observing our processes. The tone that says that we need policemen to deal with elections in this country, coupled with that of the Attorney General who would have said that he they're paying attention, and anyone who does anything that's unusual in reference to your conduct in election, they will be met with the full brunt of the law. So all of these threats that are coming to us as Guyanese, we want to understand what is behind it. Is it that the PPP is aware of something that we're not? Additionally, for the first time, we're hearing Anil Nandlal, the Attorney General, using terms like xenophobia, which is that you don't hear the person based on the color of their skin or where they're from. So why is he talking like this and that they will not tolerate xenophobia in our election? Is it that Anil knows the persons who are not Guyanese will be voting in our elections? So there's a lot for the US to pay attention to. I should say a lot more. More importantly, we would expect you to pay attention to these allegations that are leveled by the likes of Melissa and Atwell, who's essentially airing them, ventilating them through the public. The Travis Chase interview, we are seeing that there are certain names that are being called that are recurring, and that to us is troubling. So we expect that there'll be voices or sounds coming from the ABCE nations to the fact or to the tune of the corruption that is so rife in the PPP. The houses of Mocha Arcadia were bulldozed. You saw that. We know it happened. We saw the houses that were destroyed. They were told that the house was in path of the highway. We knew it wasn't. But now we know that buildings are going up there. So let Susan Rodriguez speak to that. Let her say why buildings are being constructed in that environment? Who sold the land and for what was it sold? Let Susan Rodriguez tell us. U.S. Ambassador, these things we want to hear from you. Let Susan Rodriguez explain to us. How could one family earn so much prime business real estate on the Heroes Highway? How could one family get so much? What is happening in our country? We need to hear those things. And more so, we'd love for you to say to us, why is it that whenever these allegations are leveled against the PPP and even the damning Vice News interview, the only response we get from the PPP is aggression? We need to know that. Why is it on the index of corruption from Transparency International? The PPP is ranked so highly, and yet Barjago can attack those people and not admit that corruption is rife in this country. So if we want to interfere in the country's internal affairs, those are some areas we'll appreciate the interference in.
Prime Ministerial candidate of Forward Guyana Movement, Nigel London here. Look, I don't know if you can see the screen, but I want you to comment on this photo.
No, I can't see the screen.
You can't see the screen, but it's a photo
No, let's stop it. Stop it.
It's a photo. Oh, you're going on your phone?
No, I was going to try to get my other device, but
It's a
that's fine.
photo
Tell
of
me what it is.
It's a photo of Irfan Ali, President Irfan Ali, beating a drum, dressed in full African attire.
Mhm.
It's unbelievable. I'm sorry you couldn't see it, but let me come back.
I mean, you describe it well. You're well read, so I know that you normally describe things pretty well because you read a lot. Um, Cultural appropriation is normal for the PPP. Remember, Pre Chan on August 1st, Emancipation Day, said that our foreparents would have suffered. I could not believe that a minister of education could be so callous, but it's normal for her, so insensitive. How could Priya on Emancipation Day not even recognize that there are African descendants in this country, Hebrew people in this country, who would have suffered immensely? Why would she say our ancestors? so forth on emancipation. And that's why emancipation essentially means a lot to us. Something is wrong with our head. But that's the norm for these people. And why? Is because they've been allowed to do it. Normally, when someone is in their mind vested with absolute power, they believe they can do whatever they want. And that is the curse on the PPP. They have the view that they are allowed to disrespect any ethnicity. They can do whatever they want to any group. They can do whatever they want to their own people. They can do whatever because in their mind, they have got enough wealth to not answer to anyone. That's the crux of the matter regarding the PPP. It doesn't matter what it is. They could do whatever they want to do to you because money solved the problem. So
But
a minister could be accused of raping a young lady and nothing comes out of it because
and
money
they
solves the
put him
problem.
back on the party list for
Put him back.
for the elections, and
A,
that's the
a
lawlessness and the
man could,
wickedness.
right. Exactly. In Region 9, remember the one who shot the girl in the stomach? He's a candidate too.
He's a candidate too.
They
So
don't care.
Barajak
Of course he
is
is.
flexing his power to say he has complete domination over Guyana and in particular over African Guyanese, because what is going to happen, GCOM will ensure that even if the people of Guyana of all ethnicity rise up against the PPP and vote against them, that Claudette Singh, the commissioner, the chairman of GCOM, will
Yes.
ensure that the PPP wins the election through rigging. I want to, in closing, ask you before you give your closing remarks about your policies of your coalition, your party. Uh, as prime ministerial candidate, what will you do under the presidency of Amanza Walton Desir? And I hope to have her in this program as early as tomorrow. I will reach out to her to talk more
Sure.
about policies and so on. I hope to have her on at this same time, 6 o'clock. Uh, what are your policies in terms of the cost of living and in terms of stamping out corruption in government?
Thank you, Norman. Because I was about to say that policies are so extensive, we could speak for the other next 10 hours. But in reference to, I'll deal with cost of living first because it's very, very painful to Guyanese and it's quite a real experience for them. Those who are not at the upper tier of our society. Cost of living can be managed if the state takes responsibility. And if the state decides to carefully and strategically monitor pricing in our country. So we believe that there should be price control, but it must not be insensitive towards those who do business. But we must not allow businesses to hurt Guyanese because we want to invoke the spirit of patriotism in this nation, where businessmen must understand that you're Guyanese, you service the people in our country, and as a result of that, since Guyanese give you bread, since Guyanese give you money, since Guyanese cause you to be successful, the least you can do is to be fair to them. So we will have what are called fair market prices and we control and monitor those. And additionally, we intend to have arrangements made whereby our agricultural sector would be bolstered to the extent where Guyanese can produce food. A nation that doesn't feed itself as a nation is bound to slavery in some form or the other. Guyana has got too much arable land for us to have high pricing on commodities. But if we have reckless leaders who, as in the case of the cattle ranchers, flood their land out of greed, it will hurt us. So we want to go back to the days or revert to the days whereby we were able to feed ourselves. It's important. Additionally, in feeding ourselves, we are not afraid of surplus because we intend to have factories and processing plants for food established where we're able to export things like dried mangoes and pickled mangoes. These things, we would push an agenda of feeding ourselves, but also feeding the Caribbean, feeding the wider world, because we have the means to do so. We believe it is possible, and that's one of the ways we intend to control pricing. Also, based on trade with other nations. That's how we're going to bring the cost of living down because our money our value of our dollar will increase. Now, when it comes to corruption, there would be a very robust, very vigorous arm or body that's established to investigate and also to recommend to the leaders of this country actions to be taken. We believe with all of our hearts that appropriation or land reclamation must be on our agenda. anyone like these PPP fellas who go and bully people to take away their land, it's our deepest conviction that it will be taken from you. Because Ghanaians must have justice across the board. We must not have a case whereby people could just go and grab land from individuals, intimidate them, take away transported land and claim to be theirs. And then when the government changes or administration changes, they leave and they're all right. No, we will have a just system. So people will be afraid to be corrupt. In reference to the Guyana police force, there has to be those who, the police can't investigate the police. So we have to have independent bodies that are capable of investigating these people's operations, and those who are found to be culpable must face the law, including those who are politicians or members of parliament, cabinet members, and others. Your hands must be clean to touch our wealth in our country. Our resources must be monitored carefully so they not be abused by friends and families of any political group. And most importantly, we believe that we hold ourselves accountable, which is why we have a contract with the people, not a manifesto, where we believe that we have to be held legally accountable to Guyanese as to what we intend to do in reference to stemming the tide or the flow of corruption and the bleeding of the same. If we, Norman, are able to reclaim as Guyanese all of that which is being bled through our nation's veins through corruption, we can pay teachers on par with any Caribbean territory. We can pay officers or military and others above other nations. For on every dollar that we spend, Ashley Singh signs off on, 41 cents goes missing through corruption or mismanagement. Imagine when you build a road in this nation, in Guyana, for every 3 miles of road they build, we spend over $2 billion more than any other territory around us. It tells you how corrupt the PPP is. And so we're saying that in reference to corruption, they'll have to answer. It'll not be the soft touch like Granger and Jaggi with Soku when he said you mustn't treat a foreign president like that. I'm telling Jaggi you that you'll have to answer if you're alive then. You must tell us what I'm telling money. All of y'all. So there'll be no hopping on a plane and getting away from us in Guyana.
I was about to ask you that. Would if your party wins, would you vigorously, would your government vigorously pursue those who have held Guyana in that vice grip of corruption, murders, and unaccountability?
Absolutely, Norman. With every
So
breath that I take, with
it
every
wouldn't
breath that
just
we
be
take,
no commission of inquiry or anything. It would be a serious pursuing of.
in the court of law. There's no Guyana doesn't have money to waste on commissions of inquiry because what comes out of them? No. They have to answer in the court of law. So the Guyana Police Force, of course, we hope it be called Guyana Police Service because the service of the people will do service to the nation, and that service will include properly investigating those who would have been corrupt. If we have to employ international prosecutors, because you can't trust some of them in this country, bring them here. Do whatever is necessary will be done to ensure that the Guyanese are given an account for where money went. And that covers APNU, AFC, and the PVP. So there'll be no exception here. If your hands are clean, you won't have to be afraid. So if you go to parliament to move a motion to listen, we want to have some investigators come to investigate certain matters and PNC votes against it, we know why. Or AFC vote against it, we know why. And the PP will certainly vote against it, and we all know why. Because we must hold everyone to account. I am in this as well, Norman, and I'm confessing, I said it before, because of Adriana Young, that's one thing that drove me here even more than anything else. I swear on my life that should Guyanese have us to govern this country, every dog, cockroach, and rat that was involved in the giant situation, I don't care who you are, you will be made an example for the world to see that you mustn't do this to children. I swear on my life. That's one of the reasons that is driving me to do what I'm doing. I've been working for this a long time ago because I don't have to do this. But when I saw what they did to that girl, and what AFN had the gall to do, including the one from Canada who came and said the special investigator who is retired, who said that they had to have professional divers to find a girl in a foot pool. You too, don't you better hope you die before. All of them, including the two doctors from New York and Delaware, all of you shall be found and be made to answer for this child's life.
Prime Ministerial candidates speaking out here today. Prime Ministerial candidate of the People's for Guyana Forward Movement,
Forward Ghana movement,
The
yes.
Forward Guyana movement speaking out. Look, we are wrapping up now. We are wrapping up now. I just wanted to clarify with my viewers because I've got a lot of new viewers who are not Guyanese. We're talking about Adriana Young, an 11-year-old school child who was abducted
Yes.
on the grounds of the Doubleday Hotel, owned by an Indo-Guyanese close to the PPP, and the police protected um, the hotel from being searched overnight, and so on. Many believe that Adriana was sacrificed. She was murdered. And so the police force actually lied to the nation through a press statement that there was some man in a car who Adriana
Yeah.
left with while she was still locked in that hotel. And that child was brutally murdered. There were marks on her body that showed there was mutilation and so on. It was consistent with a sacrificial ritual. And when the country got up and started to protest the next day, I think it was, Adriana was thrown out of the hotel into the pool. A pool that was searched by credible people and not so credible people. And it's a story that has shocked not only Guyana, but it has shocked the world. Many people believe that the PPP will be brought down single-handedly because of the
Yes.
Adriana's Young situation. They murdered a black child. I don't care who said the child mixed with this or mixed with this. It's a little black girl. It's a little black girl. They murdered that child, and Irfan Ali and Bara Jagdeo, along with Clifton Hicken, the Commissioner of Police, President Irfan Ali, Vice President Bara Jagdeo, who is the General Secretary of the PPP and the de facto President of the government of
Yes.
Guyana, they covered the entire situation up, the murder up. And Guyanese of all races are angry. They are angry to this day. And I want to say this. I want to say that there is so much that will cause the PPP to go, but who will take that space? Who will take that space? Is it the PNC? Is it the Forward Guyana movement? Is it the AFC? Well, I don't know. The AFC, I don't know. But the point I'm making is I can't believe that Figgy crossed the floor from the PNC to the PPP. And Nigel Hughes, who is supposed to be a leader of a third party, that Jagdeo called his wife, who's a politician, a woman of high caliber and social standing. Jagdeo calls her every week on his press conference a low life, speaks nasty of her. And Nigel at Guyana's Emancipation Celebration 2025. It's not at a political function. Permit me, Apostle, for a minute. It's not at a political function. It's not, you could say, you know what, we got a function where academics meeting up, Jagdeo and so on, and myself, and Nigel and so on. It's not that. It's an African emancipation event that Nigel Hughes sees Bara Jagdeo before Bara Jagdeo saw him and rush up in the most elated way to greet him. And we saw that Jagdeo smiled and played a little game, and then Jagdeo just walked off. This is the leader of the AFC, a great lawyer, a great intellectual, somebody that I have a lot of respect and love for, and I'll be bringing them on this program this week, to all of them coming. But Nigel did something to Africans and to Adriana
Yeah.
Young and to all of our people who have the families of the murdered Guyanese young men,
Henry Boys.
the Henry
Henry
Boys,
Boys.
Boston, and all the others. This is what Nigel Hughes did. And he was excited to meet Jagdeo. Is Jagdeo that powerful that people can speak out against him while they're on a party platform, but when they meet the man in person, they're excited? Does he have that sort of, influence? Because Bara Jagdeo is one of the most evil people, sorry, in Guyana. One of the most wicked, nasty, and horrible person that we could ever find in Guyana. Bar Jagdo is actually a low life that made it through politics because Chenny Jagon, they handed, and Janet, they handed the baton to him. You understand? He was a recipient of handing a younger person the baton to lead in the context of empowering young people. And he made a mess of it. He literally made a mess of it. Your closing remarks, give your final comments and then your closing remarks, and we will call it a day.
Thank you, Norman. And again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be who I am in your broadcast. You've never sought to curtail how I function, how I am, and I'm grateful for that. I encourage every guy needs to be very, very, very mindful of the fact that corruption has been exposed and is being exposed on a daily basis in our nation. We're thankful to the likes of Melissa Ann Atwell, who happens to be a young lady of exceptional caliber. She's unafraid, and I like that about her. She's speaking up and she expects us to speak. When we have the police and the soldiers, especially policemen, who you see that the PPP have decided they can even utilize their political strength as they think they have it to, to manipulate you in terms of promotions, unlawful actions. Promotions are never about politics. It's about the police service commission or the commissioner. They know what they can do. But then the PPA decide they're going to insert themselves even in that regard to bribe you and to let you see how little regard they have for you. I'm encouraging all of you to not be fooled, not be tricked, and not be used to harm your fellow Guyanese. But instead, I'm encouraging you to stand for what is right for you, all of the Guyanese. You have sworn to uphold that which is right. You have sworn to do that which is legal and lawful and binding, which is to do that which is according to our constitution proper. Not to do the bidding of any politician to harm your people. So the other Guyanese who hear me today, I'm encouraging you all to pay attention to the fact that there have never been such allegations leveled against the president's mother. Why must AFN be the first one? Why must there be cases whereby ministers who are responsible for distributing house lots and lands to us, they're being accused of being so criminal in their dealings? The PPP is inherently wicked and they're criminal. I classify them as a clan of demons and criminals. That's what they are. They're diabolical people. They're dangerous people. I want you to hear me as I close that one of their own said that they are prepared to do anything to anybody, including one of them, to get what they want. Remember what he said. He's dead now. He said, we are prepared to do whatever it takes, even to one of us, to get what we want. Now, when you have a minister, former minister saying that, let's not forget about the prison outbreak and so on, the escapees and so on. And when he said that they're prepared to do whatever they have to do, so if they have to step on one of y'all to get what they want, fine. Look what they did to Critic. Can't catch himself till now. They'll do anything they want to do to you because they set you up. Look what they did to their friend, their former friend Mohammed, as far as he said. He believes that one of their friends set him up to be sanctioned. These people are very dangerous. And we calling on Guyanese. I'm imploring you, in your voting, do not vote for what looks fancy, what appears to be good. Elect people with clean hands. When righteous people are leading a nation, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in power, the people will mourn and grieve. You've been grieving for years because the wicked and the friends of the wicked were walking all over your neck. We think it's time for Guyana to breathe again. Guyana is not broke, she's broken. And we are the change that has to mend the nation. So I'm so grateful. And that
I
includes my
want
closing
I
remarks,
want to
Norman.
thank you very much for being here on the program. I've watched your journey. I've watched how you stood up to the powers that be. I have watched your selfless actions on behalf of the people of Linden and the people of Guyana. And